person that consistently invests into the S&P 500 is going to beat like 99% of portfolios out there. That's it. That's the entire video. I can end it right there. No, but in all seriousness, there's a couple of things that you should probably know if you're going to become financially savvy. We're going to go over how I personally became financially savvy, and there's 3 main steps to that: building a budget, figuring out which portfolios to use for saving and investing, and finally increasing my income. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We're so incredibly close to 1,000 subscribers, and with everything going on with TikTok right now, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on that platform. But anyways, let's jump into how to create a budget for yourself. If you're brand new to creating a budget, you can start where I personally started, with the 50-30-20 rule, which states that 50% of your income goes towards needs, 30% goes towards wants, and 20% goes towards investing. Over the years, I've been able to create my own budget to my specific needs, and it shakes out to be about 43% needs, 17% wants, and 40% saving and investing. And again, I've been building this up over the past 5 years. I started off with the 50-30-20 rule. It's a great place to start for any beginning investor. Here's what my monthly budget looks like. As we can see, my car payment is $500, my gas is $200, car insurance $116, health insurance $45, my phone bill is $180, my groceries are about $300 a month, saving and investing both $1,000 each. My internet bill is $45, my fitness bill is $36, my rent is $600, my student loans is $350, my AMC movie pass is $45.90. That brings the grand total to $4,418. If you watch any of my budget breakdown videos, you know that I make well over $4,400, but I've specifically made this budget so that I could have some wiggle room. A lot of the leftover wiggle room that I have goes towards things like student loan payments and hopefully being able to pay off my car even faster. There's a little chart that I made if you want to conceptualize that, but again, what I want to emphasize: when you're building your budget for the first time, you should be following that 50-30-20% rule, because it's going to set you up for success. As time goes on, you can cater it towards your specific wants and needs. Like, I personally save and invest 40% of my income. Now, that's a lot, but again, I'm specifically trying to build a portfolio for passive income, so this is going to get me to my goal even faster. But before you can think about investing, you have to be able to build it up. For instance, I only started investing about $50 a week, and the way that I look at investing is once that money goes into my portfolio, I under no circumstances can take that money out. So that $50 at the time was a lot of money, and over the years I've been able to put more and more money in. I'm up to about $250 investing every single week. Once that money goes in, I am not allowed to touch it. It cannot come out. Again, this is the first step in your financial journey, really sitting down, looking at your expenses, making sure that your expenses are not exceeding your income. For any beginning investor or any beginning person going out into the real world trying to make a budget for the first time, I hope this helps. After you've mastered this and you're able to find out how much money you can actually save and invest, it's time to pick which portfolio is right for you, specifically with saving and investing, because there's a lot out there. Now, between your savings account and your portfolio, in my personal opinion, the savings account is going to be way more important. Ideally, you want to have at least 1 to 3 months of your life expenses, and that is the number at the end of your budget. For example, again, me was $4,400. So I personally want to have anywhere from $4,400 to $13,200, specifically in my high yield savings account, getting me anywhere from a 4.1% APY upwards to a 6% APY. There are a bunch of high yield savings accounts out there, but some of the ones that I have personally used is Apple's high yield savings account, Public high yield savings account, and School's First Credit Union high yield savings account. In my personal experience, I've had no problems with Apple and Public. They both have a 4% APY versus School's First, which has a 6% APY. So obviously School's First is going to be my first choice. But just by using high yield savings account, I made $512 last year from letting my money sit in there and gain interest. Some pros and cons to School's First Credit Union versus Apple and Public's account is that Apple and Public are going to be a little bit faster when it comes to transferring over your money. School's First is going to take a little bit more time to actually transfer your money over, depending on the situation. So I'm personally leaving my house fund in my School's First Public account versus my emergency fund that's going to cover my everyday expenses in my Public account. And it's going to take less time in the case of an emergency versus the School's First, where it's going to take some time to transfer that money out. So that's kind of the difference between the two savings accounts. But again, the most important thing is that you're covered in the case of an emergency and your money is working for you, gaining interest all the time when you're not even doing anything to work for that money. Now, there are a bunch of different kinds of portfolios that you can personally invest into. The two that I personally use and that I think are the most valuable and that I would probably recommend someone to look into is a Roth IRA as well as a dividend portfolio. People think of it as growth versus dividend. The Roth IRA is probably going to be the most beneficial to 99% of people out there, or a majority of people out there. The main reason is because it's going to be tax-free if you wait until you're 59 and a half years old. But the downside to that is that there is a cap to actually how much you can invest into the specific account. That's going to be $7,000 if you're under 50. If you're over 50, it's going to be $8,000 a year. But again, at the end of the day, if you're putting that money into something as little as the S&P 500, you're going to have over $1 million in that portfolio by the time you're able to take it out, and that's going to be all tax free. So that's why I personally have a Roth IRA, and I'm 27 years old, and let's just say I had to restart from zero today. If I did the max contribution until I turned 59 and a half years old, I will have over $1 million in this portfolio. That's a Roth IRA that's going to be tax free. That is amazing, with the only problem, in my personal opinion, being that you're going to have to wait until you're 59 and a half years old to kind of reap the rewards of this specific portfolio. And that's why I personally also have a dividend portfolio. That's the one that you see on my portfolio that I show all the time. Now, one of the main criticisms behind dividend portfolios is that they take a long time to create. And while that is true, you can reap the rewards of a dividend portfolio much faster. For instance, in my personal portfolio, if I invest or continue to invest consistently, which for me is $250 every single week, in the same time period, I will be able to actually have about the same amount of money in this portfolio. I will have about $1.6 million. I'll be making about $80,000 a year of passive income in my dividend portfolio. Depending on how you look at it specifically, you're going to pay more taxes for a dividend portfolio up front, but it's going to take less time to create a snowball effect, and you can live off that income much faster versus a Roth IRA or a growth portfolio. That's why, in my personal opinion, I combine the two. I have my Roth IRA as well as my dividend portfolio. Either way, I'm going to be really good in retirement. I also have a 401k set up. That's because I had employer match. So if you have employer match, please max out on that. You could always roll it over later. In my personal opinion, the Roth IRA and that dividend portfolio, growth and passive income, that is the best combo. But again, when I went from investing only $50 a week to $250 a week, the reason I was able to do that is I was able to maximize my income, which leads me to my next and final point: increasing your income, or maximizing your income, should I say. After I did the groundwork, now I can actually increase my income. For example, with teaching, I went and got my master's, and I increased my income by about 30%. Don't get me wrong, I still have about $60,000 in student loans, but the step up from a bachelor's to a master's degree just made a lot more sense. But the step up from a master's to a doctorate does not make much more sense. It's 4 more years of school and about $100,000, and the pay increase is only about a 10 to 15% increase. The opportunity costs are just not there. After I maximized my professional career, I then moved on to getting some weekend jobs. I started doing a bunch of minimum wage jobs, and that's going to add to my income. Obviously, it takes away time from doing other things. And again, this was only after I maximized my potential for my career. So I've done a bunch of different minimum wage jobs, and the one that I currently have right now is probably my favorite. I've been working there for about 1.5 years, and funny story, actually, I got recognized for the first time ever because of TikTok. Honestly, it was pretty insane because they looked at me and they were just staring at me, and I thought that I had done something wrong. You know, typically someone is there like waiting to talk to you if you're in trouble or something like that. After I got done giving a guest directions, they came up to me and they said, "Are you Miggy from TikTok?" And I said, "I am." And it threw me for a loop. I have never been recognized before. That was a pretty fun moment, actually. So I think I'm actually going to stay at this weekend job long term, or until my dividend portfolio reaches to a point where I can replace the income. But again, not everyone's going to have the time nor the resources to be able to work 2 jobs. I do work 2 jobs. I work about 60 hours a week. That's really what made me jump from about $100 investing a week to about $250 investing every single week. But again, there's different circumstances for everyone. This is just me sharing kind of my personal journey into financial independence and what I'm personally doing. So while the short answer was investing into the S&P 500 consistently is going to beat 90% of portfolios out there, the long answer was you got to create a budget. You got to figure out the different kinds of portfolios that you should invest into and save into, and kind of increasing your income or maximizing your income as much as you possibly can. Those 3 things have personally changed my life and changed the way that I think about investing. So I thought that would be kind of a fun video to share with you, my personal experience and how I build financial savviness, or kind of how I'm gaining my financial independence. But either way, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, like the video because it helps a lot.